Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary with the Get Some podcast. And my guest this week is...
This motherfucker Gary.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. Let me start, as always, with my schedule. Last week, I was in Ontario, California. Thank you. We did 6 shows. We added one. We added a late show Sunday. Anyways, thank you, everybody in Ontario. The IE always comes out. Appreciate it. This weekend, January 13th, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida at the Moran Theater. And January 14th, I'm in Fort Lauderdale at the Hard Rock Casino. And then January 18th to the 21st, I'm coming home to Cincinnati, baby, at the Funny Bone. And then January 26th through the 28th, I'm in Irvine, California at the Improv. And February 2nd through the 4th, I'm in Tampa, Florida at the new Funny Bone. It's no longer the Improv, it's the Funny Bone. And then Super Bowl weekend, I'm January 8th through the 10th, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then Valentine's Day, I'll be in Arlington, Texas at the Improv. And then February 16th through the 18th, I'm in Orlando, Florida. That's enough. I don't need to go any farther back. What a week. What a week. I got a lot to get into. I just found out that the studio I record at is the same place where Stephen A. Smith recorded last week. Or this week's his podcast. And it was funny because I'm watching it, and I really enjoy Stephen A. Smith's podcast. And I was watching it, one of his clips, and he was talking about Joe Coy and the Oscars, and I'll get into that in a second. But as I'm watching, I'm going, that looks really familiar. And he had his graphic at the bottom. But I'm sitting there watching it going, that looks super familiar. Sure enough, this is where he recorded it, where I record my podcast. He recorded his while he was in Houston. And I was like, I knew it. And I got here, and the engineer that does my show, he was like, yo, we had Stephen A. Smith here yesterday, record his podcast. I go, I freaking knew it. I'm sitting there watching it like, I know that lighting. I know this microphone. And I go, man, this is and I kept watching going, this is a very simple backdrop right here. And you got to, you're a good podcaster. I'm not to my own porn when you got no distractions. Like you're just watching that person's face and listening to that person, and there's no like gadgets, there's no pictures behind it, nothing. It's just that's it, just talking by yourself to a microphone. You don't have a guest or nothing. But that's always one of the best. So I don't know. That had nothing to do with anything, but I thought it was funny. So it's a week later. Everybody's still reeling from the Katt Williams interview. He's still killing it. As I record this, let's see where he's at right now. Because every time somebody goes, you see he got this much on Club Shay Shay. We are at, let's see. As I go to 40 million. He's at 40 million. God. And here's the thing. We all won in this. We all, whether Katt talks bad about you or good about you, a week later, we all won. I said it last week. If he brought you up, you're relevant. And it's one of those interviews like Katt's ticket sales. Katt was already selling a gang of tickets, but now, ping! I just saw where I did my New Year's Eve show every year, the Texas Trust Theater. Katt added a second show in March. He's coming, and then he's just. I mean, his ticket prices went up and everything, and it's rare in this business that you have somebody of Katt's cloth who's already won the top, right? And then I think he's been kind of like hamster on a hamster wheel. He's selling a lot of tickets, but there hasn't been that boom again. Katt's had about 2 or 3 different times in his career where he just went boom, and he was in everybody's lexicon. Everybody was talking about Katt. And this is one of them times. Again, just reminding people who he is and how his name, and when you put him in certain settings and he becomes this force of nature, everybody gravitates. You know you're big, and you know this interview is moving when they are interviewing people on the Golden Globes red carpet and they're bringing Katt's name up. Oh, you didn't get it from Katt. Nobody got it from you. He didn't talk about you, or he did talk about you. It was just one of those moments in time. And Katt's had about 2, 3 of them in his career where it just, when I say everybody was talking about it. And this was it. And it's not that he needed a career boost, but it did boost it, even to a higher level. There's always another level you think you can get to. I always say, like, as a comedian, if you sell 10,000 tickets, you want to go back and sell 11,000. And this is just one of them things, man. People were mad that he didn't bring their name up. Mike Epps was like, well, why didn't Katt bring my name up? They interviewed D-Ray. D-Ray brought it up. I mean, people were not mad. We were laughing about it. But it's like, I never seen nothing like it off a podcast. And, you know, Katt benefited the most off this, and Shannon Sharp. But I would dare to say, as far as like in a positive light and everything, I think I was third in all this. I think I wasn't talked bad about. Nobody said anything bad about me. And the things that Katt went off on people, I look back and I go, I don't think anybody could ever accuse me of that. Nobody's ever accused me of stealing a joke. I don't think anybody's ever accused me of being just an asshole. Nobody's like, Gary's ego's out of control. And I don't know. This was just, I never seen nothing like it. And you know what's funny about all this is, you know, I made certain posts. I've been doing this podcast since, I think, last May I came back. So this is January. So February, March, April. So 8 months I've had this particular podcast in this studio by myself with no guest. You know, after my divorce, I had to revamp everything. My podcast went away for about a year, and then I brought it back. So now that since my podcast came back, every week I tell stories about the week that I had, the week I got coming up. I might do an entertainment story. Listen, I'm not that guy to tell people's personal business like that. What everybody does on their personal time, that's it. But we'll share stories about things that happened to me. Hence the Steve Harvey story last week. That was the most clickbait thing I've ever seen on the internet. Like, people just say Gary Owen gripes about Steve Harvey and Steve Harvey doesn't pay. But if you really listen to what I said, I said numerous times, this isn't on Steve. This isn't about Steve necessarily. It's about the production, the studio, and what I was getting at was similar to what Katt. The reason I brought up the Steve Harvey story last week is because I felt like it was an example of what Katt was talking about, of how I haven't really, quote unquote, crossed over. Because really what the story was about was the white producer, the white PAs, everybody behind the scenes that basically wasn't black treated me like I should be like thanking my lucky stars I was on the Steve Harvey show. Like I had nothing else going on in my life. And I see people don't really listen because this is Steve Harvey's talk show. This was in 2017. This wasn't the Steve Harvey show, and it wasn't Steve Harvey radio show. It was the talk show when he moved it from Chicago to LA in 2017. This is when this all happened. And I'm already headlining. I'm making a ton of money on the road. And, you know, these execs, the way they treated me was like I was some newbie that I should be thankful that I even have this opportunity. I'm thankful for every opportunity I have to be in front of the camera. And that story was a double-edged sword for me because, one, I had Steve, who I still respect. I got nothing. He's never really, I can't say, done anything wrong to me. I mean, Think Like a Man was his baby, so to speak. And I'm sure he could have nixed that. If somebody would have came and said Gary Owen is in the movie, Steve could have been like, nah, I don't want him. He talks shit about me. That could have happened. So I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Katt's Katt, and Katt will go in with no filter and doesn't care about the repercussions, and he's secure in who he is. I'm just different, and it's fine. I'm not like that. I guess, and it could be good and bad. I generally want people to like me, and if you don't, I'm like, why don't you? It could be a character flaw. Why don't you like me? What did I do wrong? And when people don't like me, I want to get to the root of the problem and be like, why don't you like me? Let's work it out. Let's be friends. I don't know why I'm like that. So when I was telling the Steve Harvey story last week, that was really what it was about. It wasn't about I wasn't getting paid like I should and everything. It was more like these execs behind the scenes treated me like complete and utter shit, for less of a better word. I mean, the way they was talking to me and ordered me around, and when that guy just looked at me when I said, I'm not going down there to use that bathroom. You need to find me a dressing room with a bathroom. But that was really what the story was about. Now, there is some validity to why didn't Steve ever call when I didn't show up that Monday and say, what happened, Gary? What's going on? What do we got to do to work this out? And, it's a numbers game. If they couldn't pay me what I felt like, I could have walked away and be like, hey, thanks for the 2 weeks, and it didn't work out. We tried. But I think what bothered me and almost hurt me a little bit was I was really trying to be a team player with this. I really wanted this to work. I wanted to be on the show. But I didn't want to be behind the scenes and only hearing my voice. I wanted to add value to the show, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to write sketches and be in sketches and things of that nature. And, so just didn't work out. I have no ill will towards Steve or anything like that. I would love to work with him again. And I think the story was twofold for me. It was one, it was piggybacking off what Katt said. And it was also I always wondered if Steve knew, because I don't have Steve's cell number. I'm not going to DM him with this. He's a busy dude. Last thing I want to do is even when it happened, call him. Be like, hey, man, your people aren't taking care of me. To me, I was like, I just keep it moving in my career. I'm like, if I feel wanted and I feel valued, that's where I go. And I didn't feel that on the show. And Steve's got so much shit going on. I'm just like, I'm not going to bother him with this. The producers and the studio clearly didn't value me. And so I was like, all right, I'm out, But I know I could have helped that show. I know I could have. That was right up my alley. Man, I had so many good ideas. I couldn't believe it. So I see people when you do I cut up a clip of the Steve Harvey one last week. I cut up a clip of why I walked away from my Fox deal, and then we cut up a clip of what was the other one? I had 3 clips. Hold on. I had 3 clips last week. I had that one and God, I'm getting old. And just we cut up a clip of when Katt first started talking about me. I was like, hey, what's Katt saying about me? So I thought the thing about those clips, I heard somebody say oh, I see you, not one person, a couple of people was like, I see you capitalizing on this Katt thing. Duh. I better. When you can get in the algorithms and your name comes up in an iconic interview like that in a positive light, yeah, my podcast, my platform that I'm talking about my life, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to share some experiences I've had that it's not to add validity to what Katt said last week. It's just, hey, I'm telling you what I went through. I've got great stories. I got some bad stories. I got stories that I was like, I couldn't believe that happened. Let me think. Okay, how I got the part in Daddy Daycare. Since I feel like last week it was more like why I turned down my Fox deal, why I quit the Steve Harvey show. So I remember when Daddy Daycare came about, I had an audition for an Eddie Griffin movie, and it was called I think it was called My Baby Mama. Let me look. I think that was the movie. But I've been working on this audition for like a week. I think it was called Baby Mama. I think was it Baby Mama? Yeah, My Baby's Daddy. That's what it was. Yeah, My Baby's Daddy. So I thought I was coming in for audition for My Baby's Daddy, and I remember I was in my truck and I was driving, and my agent at the time called and he's like, Gary, we got audition for the Eddie Murphy movie. I said, no, Eddie Griffin. He goes, no, Eddie Murphy. I said, no, my Eddie Griffin audition. And he goes, no, Gary, we have an audition for an Eddie Murphy movie, and it was that day. And I was like, oh. I said, I don't have time to prepare. They go, no, it's before your My Baby Daddy audition. And they was like, it's just a couple lines. Just go in there and rock it out. I said, all right. I'm in my truck. This is before we had iPhones. You had to get your sides emailed or faxed to you. I got nowhere to get them. They said, just get to the Fox lot early. And they was like, let's look at the sides and, go to your car for an hour. So I get the sides. It wasn't a huge part. It was the carrot and the broccoli and Daddy Daycare. I go down to my truck. I'm looking at the lines, and I'm like, all right. It wasn't short. It was like, hey, boys and girls, we got a brand new cereal, Veggios. And then it was, that was pretty much it, So I went in, and when I got there, they said, hey, you're going to audition for 2 different parts. And they were both very small parts. One of them was somebody that worked at the cereal company with Eddie. It was like 2 lines. I did that audition first, and they kind of went, the execs in the room. Remember, Steve Carr was there, the director. John Davis, one of the producers, was there. And then they said, okay, you want to do the next one? I said, yeah. And what I did, I was there, and a bunch of the kids in the movie was auditioning. So I went out in the lobby, and I asked this mom, I said, hey, can I borrow your son real quick? And she looked at me, and I brought this kid in the room, and I started snaking around him, right? I was doing this. And then that's when I made up the song. I was like, BROCCOLI. I am the broccoli and don't know why. CARRONT. Carrots are healthy for you and me. And I just made the song up. And literally I was spelling broccoli like as I was in the audition. I was like, BROCCOL. Am I spelling this right? And then and I knew I got the part in the room because they were dying. And then Steve Carr actually walked out with me. We got in the elevator, and he told me I got it without telling me. He goes, bro, you killed. Where you from? When they start asking you personal questions after an audition, you killed it. If they just be like, thank you, keep it moving, yeah, you don't know if you killed it or not. But if they start talking to you afterwards, yeah, you killed it. So I got a call like literally an hour later, like, you got it. I was like, whoa. And then I remember when we went to film Daddy Daycare, I didn't get the part of My Baby Daddy, but I was on house money at that point. I was like, I don't care. So we went to go film. As soon as we get there, we're on set. I just did the lines the first take when I was in the broccoli outfit. I was just like, I just started doing it, and I remember Steve, the director, was like, cut, Gary, where's the song? And I was like, oh, I didn't know if you wanted it. And he goes, that's how you got the part. I was like, oh. So I better sing the song. So that was funny how that came about. And then I was trying to think. There was something I wanted to tag on that broccoli, carrots. I don't know, man. I'm getting old. I had something in my brain I wanted to share with that audition. I didn't get the part in My Baby Daddy, but that was an audition. I just kind of, you come off such a high off that, and that's the thing about this business with the emotion, with the range of emotions and auditions. I come off Daddy Daycare and I just crushed that audition. Knew I got the part. I'm on house money now. I go into My Baby Daddy's audition. I'm just like, I don't even care really. I was just going through the motions because my brain was still on Daddy Daycare. I was just like, I think I might audition and said BROCCOLI in that audition. I said, what are you doing? There's no broccoli in this. It's just, that's just business, man. So that's a good story, I guess, That's a good story. I think it's funny too when we talk about podcasts and being in the algorithms. Was, as far as me, I think that Katt Williams interview, my social media went nuts this week, and I haven't seen a jump in everything since the Alabama brawl over the summer. That thing, when I talked about that, that's what everybody was talking about that week, and you see a huge jump. So, yeah, and especially like that's my fan base. That's like those are the algorithms I want to be in right there. So like, yeah, it was cool. It was a cool week though, social media. And I think I heard some people say, if you just look at it like entertainment, it's a great week. If you start taking it personal, start beefing and everything, then I don't know. I think your name came up. You're good either way. What a week. What a week. Here's what I learned also this week about Katt Williams. He's so freaking smart. And I really watched the podcast again, and they did another podcast with Willie D. And this is what I know about Katt. Somehow that dude knows everything. I don't know if he watches everything, if he's got a team of people that watches stuff, but that guy knows everything. He went on Willie D's podcast, and Willie D, he's got a great podcast, by the way, he brought up Ali Sadiq. And I've had Ali Sadiq on my podcast. I like Ali. I like Katt both, but I guess Ali has an issue with Katt. And that's something I'd love to have Ali on my podcast again to talk about. But Katt, man, Katt never brought Ali Sadiq up in his Club Shay Shay interview. But then Ali had said, I want to box Katt. And I don't know the story. I heard Ali's side of the story. It's something about Ali was on a show. Katt wouldn't let him backstage. Ali felt disrespected and slighted, and Ali's been vocal about that on different platforms over the last couple years. And Ali said, I like to fight Katt in a charity boxing match. And keep in mind, Katt never brought Ali up in Club Shay Shay. Willie D brings Ali up, and Katt goes, yeah, I would fight him in a celebrity boxing match, but only one of us is a celebrity. And I was like, how did Katt know Ali said that? The only way Katt knows Ali said that, if Katt's on the internet looking up stuff like we are on his phone, on his laptop, see what they're saying about him, or he's got people coming at him telling him stuff. I'm like, whoa, you don't get nothing by that guy. I was like, damn, does this dude know everything? He knows. There's no doubt he's watching my podcast, or somebody isn't getting back to him. That's what made me laugh this week, was when people were telling me to sit out. Man, you gotta sit this out. I see you milking this Katt train. I go, I know, yeah, of course, but I'm also, this is what I do every week. I cut up clips from my podcast and I post it. People were actually watching my podcast and they were taking clips out and posting them before I was of something I was going to talk about. I go, oh, I was going to clip up the Steve Harvey show bit, and man, like Hollywood Unlocked, TMZ, they got a hold of it before I could release it. I was like, oh, they're releasing my stuff before I am. And here's the thing, what I want people to know. Nobody lost work this week because of the Katt interview. No promoter called and said, I don't want to work with him no more. No TV network or movie studio called and said, okay, I heard what Katt said about that guy. I don't want to work with him. And I guarantee you, no promoter or venue said, we don't want to work with Katt. Katt's tickets went through the roof. So everybody won. Everybody won in this. I think if we look at it like that, that's a good thing. I don't know how more people don't look at it like that. I don't know. The other news of the week was Joe Coy hosting the Golden Globes. And then some people's like, he bombed. He didn't do well. That's a hell gig, by the way. It's a super hell gig on 10 days notice. And it's a straight to hell with gasoline underwear if that room isn't familiar with you. And listen, Joe Coy is freaking huge. One of the toppest grossing comedians in the business. Funny as all hell. One of the nicest guys in the business. And he had to go in front of a room where a lot of people weren't familiar with him. And even like when I heard people saying he bombed, I watched it. I knew going in, I was like, oh man, I hope Joe does well. But I kept thinking to myself, if I'm in this situation, and they would be looking at me like they looked at Joe, just like that. Like Joe knew, Ali Wong knew Joe, and a couple other people definitely knew who he was. But most of those rooms, they live in a bubble, and they're just like, and they're the Hollywood elite, and they just probably never looked him up, and they haven't seen Joe. Hasn't really done a ton of movies, especially the big time mainstream movies. So they were like, who is this guy? And it's almost like they were looking at him like, don't talk about me, don't talk about me, don't talk about me. How dare you talk about me? And I'm sitting there going, if I do a movie, I want the host to talk about me. It's similar to what Katt was doing. You want that, roast the hell out of my movie. Whatever it was, do it. And just loosen up, man. The Taylor Swift one, that's the one that got me. The way she drunk her wine is like, don't you dare talk about me. That was, since I'm in the studio where Stephen A. was, that was such a softball joke. And I was like, less cutaways? Why aren't you laughing at that? What is wrong with that joke? And people are like, it was offensive. That wasn't offensive. You think that's offensive? Don't ever go to a live comedy show, please. If you thought that was offensive. God, that was the most PG joke I ever heard. They would be, and that's the thing about stand-up, man, it's weird. We can have a huge fan base. Like Joe Coy does freaking arenas and sells it out in advance, adding shows. He'll come to a city, move 20,000 tickets, no problem. And then, but for a show like the Golden Globes, they would think like Gerard Carmichael is a bigger star than Joe Coy and probably more accepted in that room and probably could have got away with more and not have been, people wouldn't have been as critical of him. But Gerard Carmichael can't sell as many tickets as Joe Coy. So it's weird. I'm curious to know who passed on it because Joe kept saying I took the gig on 10 days. And I was like, well, who passed? Who said I don't want this gig? The best host of the Golden Globes is Eddie Gervais. I wish they could have just grandfathered him in and made him the host every year. But I felt bad, and I also enjoyed what Joe was doing because as a comedian, you feel for him. I was like, man, I know there was a point where your mouth got dry, Joe, and you was like, oh, it's getting hot in here. It's a tight room. It's a tight room. And I don't know. And they said the Barbie cast was like uptight. I don't know. Ryan Gosling looked like he was having fun with it. I saw Robert De Niro go, oh, on the 80-year-old man having a kid joke. I just loosen up. I mean, go in there and I think you want to get bagged on. And Joe's just such a super nice guy. It's hard for him to be quote unquote mean in that. And that's what the like Ricky Gervais, he's just mean and without any regard at the Golden Globes. And Joe's that's just not him. It's like me. It's just like me. Like I said, I'm not mean. And it's hard for me to just be mean And some people come across a boom. And by the way, Taylor Swift, completely uptight. But Meryl Streep, does it get any better? She was having fun with Joy with the Wakanda stuff and laughing and cutting up. She's one of them people, man. You can tell she's so secure in herself. She's the perfect actress. If you was going to make an actress, just put Meryl Streep up there. She gets nominated every year for everything. It could be, they literally could have like her sitting on a toilet pushing one out, and she'd be up for a Golden Globe. And all she'd be doing is, ooh, ooh. But the way she would do it, you'd be like, I'm riveted. But I felt bad for my boy, man. I felt bad, and it was funny because bombing's funny, man. And the thing about it is, when you can, I don't think Joe bombed. I think the rooms just was uptight, and they weren't familiar with him. And I think what bothered me the most, it wasn't that. It was, I started Googling it because I want to see how he did, because I was on stage during the Golden Globes. So when I got off, I immediately went back to my room. I caught up on some football scores and everything, and then I looked at his opening monologue. And I looked at it before I read any reviews or anything, and I was like, oh, okay, that was a good one. It was hit and miss like anything. Some jokes hit and some didn't. And Joe did exactly what I would have did. He would have been like, hey, I wrote some of these, and some of these I didn't. That one I didn't write. And then he's like, the funny ones I wrote. And then he goes, and he's like, come on, I got this gig on 10 days notice. You thought everything was going to hit? I was like, that's exactly how I would have reacted if I would have told a flat joke from a writer that you're trusting knows the room. It's a hell gig, man. That is a hell gig. You got to be in the loop. Like Kev would have been fine because they know him. They're coming. It's like when he walked on stage, it was like, all right, who are you? And prove to us that you're funny. He's not getting the benefit of the doubt. Where someone like Kevin would have got the benefit of the doubt. Chris Rock would have got the benefit of the doubt. So, I mean, it ain't going to hurt him. Like I said, he's still going to sell out. Still going to sell a bunch of tickets. I got sidetracked. What I didn't like about it was these morning talk shows just going in on Joe like he's the worst comedian on the planet. And just like, they should never have him back. His jokes were so distasteful. No, they weren't. And that's why I watch the Golden Globes. It's for the distasteful jokes. The more distasteful, the better. So that's what I didn't like. It was always like these Karen-looking people or very, I don't know, people I didn't want to hang out with are sitting there judging Joe Coy. Relax. He did fine. I mean, he held his own. 10 days notice. He's a fish out of water with that audience. And I thought the monologue was decent. That's just me because I'm lit like, and I'm looking at it like Joe didn't write that. There's no way he wrote that. Okay, he probably ad-libbed that. So it's just like, Joe, if you see this, you did fine. The room was uptight. I don't know. There's some comedians that just would have snapped on Taylor Swift. You was nice about it. I don't know if I would have snapped on her or not. That's where I might have. Look, if you're at the point where you know you're not going to get invited back, just fucking go balls out. Just start cussing, talking about their mamas, their private parts, just everything. But I thought I always thought the MTV Awards was a hell gig. I would never want to host that. I mean, I'm not saying if they offered it to me back in the day, if I would have did it or wouldn't have did it, but I saw Dane Cook eat it right when Dane hit like 2006 or something. He went on the MTV Awards, and I remember Snoop introduced him, and his self-released comedy special came out, and that's when he did all those numbers. It was similar to a Matt Rife kind of rise. And they had him on MTV on like a week or two notice because he went through the roof. And he went up there and did jokes that I'd seen him do all over L.A. that destroys comedy clubs and theaters. And they looked at him like, who is this dude? Get off the stage. And I was like, those jokes kill at comedy clubs and theaters. But the MTV Awards, they didn't know who he was back then. He came out of left field, and they weren't really paying attention. And then they're like, don't talk about us. Like, they're too cool to be talked about. Get out here with that. I don't know. That's why I think all the hosting shows are hell gigs, honestly. Even the Oscars, you You got to be accepted into that group, and you got to be known in that group to even stand a chance to win them over. It's almost like they got to look at you like you are on their level. To how dare you speak on us, and you've never done a $300 million movie, and you have never done a drama, and you've never done a kissing scene with another man. How dare you speak on us? That's how I looked at it. But yeah, Joe, if you see this, man, I thought you did great. I thought it was funny. Obviously, even the jokes that didn't hit, I thought was funny. I thought it was all funny. So this is a depressing week. My Bengals are not in the playoffs. So I'm going to give my predictions. All right? Since this is the studio that Stephen A. Smith wanted to record in, let's look at the schedule, and I'm going to go game by game. So, where are we at? Playoffs. All right. I want to go in order. Packers at Cowboys. That's the easiest pick of the entire playoffs. It's the Dallas Cowboys, and whatever the point differential is, take it. I got a feeling that's going to be a blowout. Rams at Lions. I'm taking the Lions. I'm betting with my heart here. They're like the Bengals of the NFC, and I really want to see them win. So I'm going to take the Lions over the Rams, even though the Rams are playing just as good as anybody in the last month and a half. Philadelphia Eagles at Tampa Bay. If you'd asked me a month ago, I would have taken the Eagles, no doubt. But the way things are going, I think I'm going to take Tampa Bay. So, Gary went with all the higher seeds. Big shock. All right, Cleveland at Houston. And I don't want people to be mad at me, but I think Cleveland's got something special happening. And I think I'm rooting for Houston, but I'm picking Cleveland. I'll put it that way. I'm rooting for Houston, but I'm picking Cleveland. Kansas City at Miami. I think I'm going to take the Dolphins just because I like their head coach. And I think Tyreek's going to come in there and Tua, and yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to beat the Chiefs. I think this is just an off year for the Chiefs. I don't for whatever reason the mojo ain't working, and I'm going to take the Dolphins. And then the easiest layup in the AFC, Steelers at Bills, blowout. Buffalo Bills, especially with Steelers ain't got TJ Watt. Come on. So, Cowboys, Lions, Buccaneers, Browns, Dolphins, Bills. So I took 2 road teams, 4 home teams. And then we'll see how it plays out. We'll see if I'm 6-0, 4-2. Oh, wait a minute. I'm missing a game. Isn't there? No, the Monday game is okay. The Monday game's Philly at Tampa. Okay. I was wondering what that was. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Got that. All right. Yeah. So, this was a interesting week to be a stand-up. It was I've never seen nothing like it, honestly. I've never seen a week like this where everybody deep down wanted to be talked about. They wanted their name to come up in that podcast. Man, Katt just went nuts. I was interested, so I went to sometimes I'll go to Ticketmaster, and sometimes I'll go because I'll forget my schedule and I'll see where I'm at, and I just happen to type in Katt's name because I was hearing people going, his ticket prices went up, and I'm like, man, that dude was selling some tickets. He sold out, and look at this. He sold out the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas. The Hertz Arena, where Estero, Florida. Oh, I think that's by Naples. It's basically sold out. There's a ticket here, a ticket here, a ticket here. And it's all because of that podcast. Not just because of the podcast. He was going to sell a bunch of tickets anyways. But the fact that he sold out in advance is just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it's like I don't realize if you say anything about him, he's gonna know. He's gonna know. I think one time I ran into Katt at a club, and he said it like that too. The fact that he said I was in Atlanta, I had a show, and they said, "Hey, Katt's here," and I went over to say hi to him, and he goes, "Yeah, I saw your interview," and I said, "Which one?" He goes, "All of them." I was like, "What?" He just said, "All of them," and I thought he didn't see all the interviews. Now I'm like, he probably did. He probably saw all of them. Why would I ever doubt that man? I never seen so many. Like Ice Cube came out and talked. Everybody had to come out and either fact check or tell their version of the story. Never seen nothing like it. Everybody. And then somebody was like, "Well, I'm not gonna say anything. I don't have time to talk about that. I'm too busy." I'm like, "Yeah, but you just did say something about it. You saying I don't want to talk about it is talking about it. It's mind-boggling." I don't know. I had a great week. I had a fun week. All I can tell Katt is thank you. Thank you for just mentioning my name real quick and telling me I'm legit and why I haven't crossed over. And look, I just got done. I told you last month I got done recording 2 of my specials, right? I recorded an hour special on a Friday, and I realized I had enough material, and I recorded my next special on Saturday. And I've always had a closed door at Netflix they don't even watch my special when I submit it. I don't even get that far. So maybe this will help. I don't know. Maybe one of these specials, there'll be a buzz off this podcast. My name came up and my social media went nuts, and I told a couple stories. No different than stories that I've told in the past about things I've gone through in the entertainment business. It's not good or bad. It's just the truth. You can't be mad at somebody telling the truth about what happened. The Steve Harvey stuff happened. The casting couch story I told. And then listen, last week when I told the casting couch story, people were like, "You got to name him. You're part of the problem." No, I'm not going to call that dude out because he never touched me. He never promised me work if I didn't do anything. The dude just hit on me. You're allowed to hit on people. It's legal. And then when you say no, you keep moving. So I'm not going to call that dude. That's a completely different ballgame right there. But, yeah, who knows? I don't know. Do I give Katt a producer credit if Netflix picks up one of these specials? I might. And if Katt watches everything, yeah. I still got love for all you guys. And, yeah, that's it. This is definitely going to be a clip, though, for sure, this week. All right, y'all. This is Gary Owen to Get Some Podcast.